Welcome to the Three Bros Podcast, a show where we read other people's articles and incessantly criticize them for no reason. It's a good time.
With no credential to do so.
None whatsoever. We just want to make that clear.
Absolutely.
But we have strong opinions because we're dicks. Okay.
There you go. At least we cleared that warning out of the way. Two bros.
Takes
bros this week.
Oh, only two bros. The third one took himself too seriously this week, so he had to take a timeout. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding.
It's obviously
just two bros this week. Yeah, no, just two bros this week. All right. Both of us have an article to bullshit about and criticize incessantly, and then I'm just gonna blow through these excuse me what ones. I've only done this with you. That's why when Caleb dropped out, I was like, we'll fill it in with this.
I think it's a good one.
Oh, sure. First one is a very obvious excuse me what. I'm just gonna go out here on a limb and say that I think any normal person would excuse me what this. Anyways, as you can see, which got a screen share more. We're doing that right now. House GOP leader Steve King from Iowa, a real superstar. Okay, let's go down and let's see. Apparently, he gave an interview. I'm not sure. Oh, it was a New York Times interview, which is so shocking. Like, don't you just wonder when you read these, like, what was the environment that led to him, like, saying this? I don't know.
I think it's,
Sure.
Yeah.
So he goes, white nationalist, white supremacist, Western civilization. How did that language become offensive? So, right off the bat.
So,
why would you say white nationalist?
Why would you say that? Here's the thing, though. White nationalist, you can kind of get away with, maybe.
No.
White supremacist?
I don't think you can.
White supremacist is where you lose all hope, though.
I know. That was going to be the joke I was about to lead in with. I was going to be like, why would you say white nationalist and then go on to white supremacist?
Oh, yeah. No, it's worse, dude. It's
just devastating.
Definitely worse.
Now, I think we both can agree, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. The one that you could get away with most is like Western civilization. Like, okay, there's definitely, there still are. And we've talked about this on the pod. Not a lot of people, but there still are people that live in their own separated, isolated tribes and are content. And so maybe you could find an argument for the Western civilization one, but Jesus with the white supremacist. Like, what is going on? What?
I think there's definitely, I think Western civilization is completely not offensive. That's fair enough, because Western civilization
I don't even disagree with that. Yeah,
right. It's you're predicated on a certain worldview, on a certain set of base beliefs that Western civilization is associated with, right? White nationalists, okay.
Goodness.
Nationalists,
I don't know, dude.
Get away with. Why are you a white nationalist? That's kind of weird. And then white supremacists, you just threw all hope out the window. You had no ground. He later said he is simply a nationalist and condemned anyone that supports this evil and bigoted ideology of white nationalism and white supremacy. So,
I'm glad you cleared that up.
Did he misspeak, or did he accidentally say what he really thinks? That's the question, right? Yeah. And I think he somewhat talked about things he actually believes in, which is, if you're a white supremacist, that is your hill to die on, brother.
Yeah, that's. If this doesn't end this man's career, I'm not sure what will.
So is he a federal senator?
Oh, good try.
Representative?
He is a representative.
Is he a state representative?
He is a representative federally from Iowa.
Okay. Jesus,
Iowa 4th district.
I mean,
the most rural district in Iowa.
Yeah. Well, hey, can you blame them? What if he actually is representing his constituents by saying these things?
Then we've got to talk about that's fine. Then we wouldn't debate about democracy or representation. We would just debate morality and being a fucking moron, So that's all. Just being hateful, Just don't be hateful. I think these things. This article makes me excuse me what, just because I'm so tired of living in the divisive times we live in, and even more so, I am extremely tired of politicians who fart in jars and sniff them while they're on national talk shows saying, we got to stop being divisive. We got to do better. We got to come together. And then in the same paragraph, once they get confronted about their policy, they're like, oh, but the Democrats, or, oh, but the Republicans. I'm like, stop. You are in the same paragraph breathlessly being a hypocrite, being the biggest hypocrite. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I really think that these days the qualification for being a politician is how much fart can you smell straight from your butthole to your nose. The more the better. The more the better.
Yeah,
Tulsi Gabbard's running for president, by the way.
I saw that. You know, we are going to have to take, now that, I mean, within the next 6 months or so, all of these people will make their announcements. So we should do a deep dive on 2020, our feelings, maybe our selections, but that's
going to be a lot more positive than you think from me on Elizabeth Warren. Okay, second article on excuse.
Wow, I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely. She started the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. She's done a lot. She stands up for workers more than most politicians who have hoses straight from their buttholes to their nose.
Unfortunately, being an executive, you have to carry yourself in certain ways, and I would disagree, but sure. Anyway, let's carry on. That's for another time, another day. I don't care how you carry yourself. Just make sure you're making policy that helps people. They don't. That's not necessarily true.
Ouch, that's always true.
It depends. Okay. When you are the face of the American country, I suppose, when you are the face of the United States of America, I kind of grind with the fact that you shouldn't at least be a certain type of presented thing. Not a corporate stooge. Oh, stop. A leader.
We got corporate stooges.
A leader knows how to be a leader in the public
we got none right now. Elizabeth Warren comes close. Bernie's better. Okay, now.
I think there's better than both, but sure, go on. Excuse me, what? What's next?
One name, just one name before we move on of better.
Oh, really?
Bernie or Elizabeth Warren? Yeah, quick.
I'll say this: I don't have a name, but I don't doubt that I can find a name.
Wow. Okay. So just
and that's how I feel.
Lying to the pod listeners.
Well, Bernie's too old, and Warren isn't marketable. So if that's what you want me to say, that's what I'll say.
You're gonna gatekeep on age. I hate that.
Yes.
And by the way, that's the article that we're gonna go through, but. That's dumb.
It is actually, yeah. Great.
I'll give you a chance to make an argument, but that sounds dumb to me. Okay,
it's not dumb. But carry on.
I told you you'll get your chance. Take a breath.
Sure.
Come on.
Sure. Go ahead. Excuse me. What?
What's my favorite? Excuse me. What? So
okay.
Pastor who praised Pulse, and by the way, excuse me. What is just? I say that because I read the article titles themselves, and sometimes I excuse me what at the title, and then I go in the article, and it's like okay, not too bad. This one's not that one.
Well, yeah, we should
not that way. But
anyways,
pastor who praised Pulse nightclub gunman resigns after allegedly paying for sex. Okay.
Excuse me, what? Color me surprised.
Oh,
pastor is hypocritical.
So, in a sermon that was posted to YouTube, Mr. Romero told congregants at one time that gay people were all pedophiles, and that he hoped the injured from the Pulse nightclub shooting would die of their wounds so they don't get any more opportunity to go out and hurt little children. Now, the obvious irony, and this is why this is the only screenshot that I took from the article paragraph, the obvious irony here, and it's actually really sad irony because this was a terrible shooting that happened. We all remember Pulse. I'm sure you remember Pulse. And
literally the worst mass murder in American history.
It's sickening irony.
Oh, actually,
he's railing against people who just went through one of the most violent acts in modern history in this country, in recent memory.
Until Stephen Paddock,
and they have the gall
until Las Vegas
to a podium until what? Okay, who gives a crap? It was bad. It was stop. A lot of people died, and it was not good. And anybody who would have the gall to get up to a podium and continue to just pouring salt in the wound is such an understatement. Kicking a person when he's down is such an understatement that it makes me have uncomfortable thoughts of this person not existing anymore either. And I know that that's not the right response to have when they're doing that, but it's these people are just hateful, and it's hard for me to understand why. And it actually makes me sad a lot of times when I read stuff like this. How could you be so hateful? Who are you? What happened to you?
Well, it doesn't surprise me.
Look at another human being, which most of us are here trying our best, trying to survive, doing what animals have done on this planet for billions of years, right? And not animals specifically, but organisms specifically. And you just choose to just completely hate them and just smear the crap out of them just because. It feels like just because I don't know why.
It feels like just because. I don't think it's just because. But there is an interesting type of group of, let's say, what's the word? Religious types of leaders that get led to this extreme type of preaching from the pulpit, right? This guy came out after this horrible shooting, which, to clarify earlier, I was just saying, I thought it was the worst, but then Las Vegas was the worst. Regardless of all of that, at the time, 49 people were killed. 49 people were gunned down, right? And this guy came out very quickly afterward and said, nothing less than they deserve this, and I hope the ones that were injured would die too, just by extension of just by virtue of them being gay. Like, they deserve this death, right? They don't even. It's not just that they deserve this death in this life, but that they will go to the next life and they will be punished, and it will be forever, and they will be burning in hell, right? Like,
what a meritocracy.
And it's weird too, because we've seen this countless times before. It's the ones with the most hateful, vitriolic type of rhetoric from the pulpit that turn out being engaged in this very same behavior.
I didn't even finish the article. Hang on, let me finish this. So the same person who espouses this hateful rhetoric, evidently is hooking up with prostitutes, smoking marijuana, which is it makes me chuckle when I read.
I know, right?
As if it's like. Anyways,
that's the most. Yeah, go ahead.
Smoking marijuana, smoking the dope.
Marriage, hey.
Anyways,
you got that dope.
And gambling, which also makes me chuckle because I've done a fair share of gambling.
What is that? That's such a nothing thing compared to.
So, well, it all depends on the context, by the way. But anyways, and gambling. So doing all these things that clearly are not biblically sound.
Right.
So the article always makes me excuse me what first, but what made me excuse me what so hard while reading this article is I always think about when I read these things, and you kind of made it clear when we were in pre-production for this pod that you may have felt the same way. The suppressed feelings, dog. The suppressed feelings of people who I just feel like there is a certain kind of energetic zealot for life in general who knows that maybe some of their natural instincts are really bad, and they hear about the word of God, they hear about the fear and the afterlife, and they get really zealoty about trying to, like, maybe I can, like, clean myself by, like, presenting this pure, like, going into this, like, but you cannot listen. Everybody's human. And by the way, it's okay to be human. It's okay. Like, if this guy lives in a society, a place in this world, and these places exist, that legally you can gamble, smoke weed, and go pay for sex, there's no problem. The problem is you chose a lifestyle where you were preaching against it, where you were sitting on the highest horse one of the highest horses I've ever seen, and saying, you are terrible, do better. In the meantime, you're doing the same things. And Catholic Church reminds me of this too, especially scandal after scandal still keeps happening in the Catholic Church. We're years into these scandals, and they keep coming.
It almost suggests.
And guess what happens when you tell human beings to not have sex?
Right.
Not good things, okay?
It's almost like repressing natural urges tends to be really toxic to a human being.
Look at that. Isn't that crazy? I know.
Interesting how that works. You know what's slightly ironic in this whole thing too is because Omar Mateen, you know what? I really shouldn't repeat that guy's name, but the guy who did the Pulse nightclub shooting, right?
I'm gonna edit that out. That's how I feel about that. No problem. I got you.
Fair enough. Or you could just bleep it. But
that's what I'm gonna do.
So the Pulse nightclub shooter, right? There was some speculation early on, and I don't know if it was ever verified, by the FBI or by the local police agencies there. But there was early reports that, like, Omar Mateen, Jesus Christ, that this guy was a shooter. That this guy was a shooter the shooter was a frequent at this nightclub before the shooting took place, right? So there's this idea that he belonged to a certain religion, not Christianity. Hint, the other one.
I know.
Right. And again, I don't know if this was ever verified, but the idea was that this was some sort of self-hating, ideologue, far extremist type of person who just like snapped because there's this idea that like, hey, here I am, a human being, and I have these certain predilections, and hey, here I am being raised with these strict, hardcore beliefs that tell me that I should be an awful person if I even have those predilections. And it was like,
that's what
either leave the religion or do something that justifies how I'm feeling in the eyes of what I think is God. You know what I mean? Like, and again, I don't know if these were verified, but it's like these self-hating people who are so hard on it that are just like under the hammer and nail of what the religion dictates, and they just don't know how to deal with it.
Right.
Like, I'm not trying to sympathize with this
suppress
pastor.
people.
Don't suppress people. I'm not trying to sympathize with this pastor, right?
No.
But and again, they actually explicitly said in the article the gender of the prostitutes was not revealed. So we don't know if like he was engaging in homosexual activity, which I honestly, based on history,
at this point.
Well, I'm inclined to believe that he did.
I agree.
But
really quickly before you continue, you know what it reminds me of? I know you've seen Religulous. You remember when he sits down and interviews the guy who runs a gay conversion? Dude, and that guy was...
Oh, the gay
We're not going to say it because we're not going to say it because I don't know for sure. We're not going to smear slander anybody.
Well, I will say this.
Omar sat down with someone who runs a gay conversion camp thing back in the movie Religulous, and all I could think of is this man is so repressed, and that's all I'll say.
Absolutely.
That's all I'll say.
I'll throw this name out too because he didn't commit a terroristic act, but he did something extremely hypocritical, so his name should be floated out there. His name was Ted Haggard, and he ran a super church or one of those mega churches in the South, and I'm sure you remember this. One of the most vehement, vitriolic, hateful types of people towards gays, and then it turns out he was smoking meth and meeting up with homosexual,
crazy,
male prostitutes, implying that he was a homosexual. It's like, why is your self-hatred so intense that you go to this place where you become a leader in terms of just this awful rampage against the very thing that you feel inclined to do?
Can you imagine what crazy self-loathing that is?
Oh, it's insane.
Literally, you are a crazy person. Heights of self-loathing. So listen.
Yeah. Well, because you go to just such an extent to deny that very nature of your existence. It's like, damn, man. Jesus.
Dude, and you said you're not trying to sympathize with the pastor, and I'm not either. But it does make me chuckle a little bit that there's plenty of places on this planet where if you go to work, you don't bother nobody. It's perfectly within your purview and legality to go get a prostitute, buy some weed, and go gamble in one night and enjoy yourself, and just go home and continue to go to work and contribute to society. And that's what's kind of a little funny about it. It's like just high amounts of self-loathing. Let's move on. All right.
Well, one last thing. Can I say one last thing?
Oh, sure. Oh, I left it on the article the whole time. I didn't even take it off the screenshot.
Oh, that's right. Well, so this article references, so the church itself has a channel. They're called the Steadfast Baptist Church. Feel free to go there and consume and react however you want. So they posted a video of the meeting where this guy made a statement, right? So there is a pastor that took over that they brought in, and he opens it up. He opens it up and he says, listen, Pastor Romero's going to come out. He's going to say something. And this guy comes out and he puts his phone down. So he's clearly reading sort of a pre-written type of speech.
Definitely.
And he's glancing at his phone. You know, he's just like nervous as all hell. You've done a horrible thing, sure. But as he was telling his apology and his resignation, he didn't say anything specific, but there was one line that caught me in particular. And he said, I'm sorry I let it get this far. And it's this type of thing that makes me just so contempt of people like this, because he's not...
I didn't catch that. Wow, yeah.
He's not sorry about the things that he did, especially to his family and to his community.
He's sorry
right?
he
Like,
lost control of it.
no, he's sorry. Yeah. Well, essentially, yeah, he's sorry that he got found out. He doesn't.
Yep.
He didn't really care about the consequences of his decisions until he got found out.
So do you think the nerves? Because he definitely displayed nerves when he was up there. Because I watched the video. Do you think the nerves were just fake or?
No, the nerves were real. The nerves were real.
I think so. I think so.
But I
Because
think
he knew the ramifications. Only because he knew the ramifications.
Only because he was losing crumbling down. Exactly. That's exactly it. He doesn't truly care that he's hurt his wife and his family. He doesn't truly care that he's been preaching horrible things about the behavior that he's probably been engaging in. He only cares that he got found out. And that's what makes me hate this guy just that much more.
Don't be that pastor. Okay.
Moving on.
Third last one.
Yep.
Okay.
Which one was this?
And there's a couple of reasons why I excuse me what at this.
Michael Bolton.
So the first reason why I excuse me what at this is I wasn't even aware that Iran is a huge threat. Like it just feels when I read this article and I went through this whole article, or when I read the title and I went through the whole article, it just feels like more like just worrying about crises that aren't happening here when we have them here. It's just more warmongering, more neocon warmongering. But the biggest thing that gets me with this one, and this is why I had to slap the excuse me what on it. We went from having a tentative nuclear deal with Iran, to all of a sudden, our administration is asking to plan of how to the military to plan how we would strike Iran. Like, what is going on? I don't get it.
Well,
I don't know.
It shouldn't be surprising. The National Security Advisor is John Bolton, and he's been very clear about. He's a warmonger, he's been very clear about wanting a regime change in Iran. He's been very.
How's that gone in American history when we regime change places? Jesus.
Well, Japan and Germany did all right. Iraq and Afghanistan not so well.
Stop it. You know exactly what I mean. I mean, like, how did it go in Iran the first time? Not good. Not good. Okay.
Oh, sure.
Even we can even have Iran as the example. Not good. So
we've had like 2 out of 5, 2 out of 6, let's say. Yeah, not great.
I get so tired, and this boils down to just a basic thing that I get mad about. I just get so tired of focus and energy on things that are just made up crises. That we have literally Americans who are actually American, born here, live here, who are suffering, and like we're just worried about all this stupid crap. We're gonna go spend money on all this dumb stuff, and it doesn't make any sense to me. It never does. Never does.
Well,
I feel like I'm more inclined most days than other days to just, because there's actually people not getting paid and get affected by the shutdown, and because there's consequences to elections, there's most days I'm like, just get the damn man as well. Yeah. So that people can get paid again. Dude, people are actually getting affected. People are missing paychecks. That's a big deal.
The Iranian government has nukes, though, so I'm more concerned about the stability of that regime than the American people, to be fair.
But okay, if you were and that's perfectly fine. If you're worried about the stability, then read that article title and tell me that you don't like it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I understand.
What, that's the solution? That's
not the solution. Oh, I'm not defending this guy at all.
It's just
I agree.
It's ridiculous to me. It feels like everything that comes out of this administration is just. I feel like maybe they don't know, or they think their grip on power is slipping or anything like that. But it just feels like everything this administration does to muster up political support is just fear mongering over and over and over again. Brown people need a wall. Look at Iran. Look at those Muslims. Over and over, and it's just like, dude, we get tired of it. Okay, we get it. It's just,
yeah.
Meanwhile, go look at Richard Ojeda, who's running for president. Go look at his videos. He's got people in West Virginia who are United States citizens, kids who can't even get food on the table.
It's not going to be Ojeda.
Tell me what we should focus on. I love Ojeda, though. Anyways,
it won't be Ojeda, but fair. I like him a lot as well.
I encourage all 3 of our listeners to go watch Ojeda's videos. He's amazing.
There are. Well, depending on who you agree with on the podcast, there are points of disagreement you will have with Ojeda, but
you will not find a person who works harder for working people.
Well, that kind of bleeds into this. Let's let that bleed into the next article. This Vermont newspaper, right? Bernie Sanders.
So this is mine. This is the one that caught my attention this week.
Yep.
The most.
Vermont newspaper.
Yeah, a Vermont newspaper editorial board basically begs Bernie Sanders not to run in 2020. The obvious takeaway that I immediately had when I read the article title is stop gatekeeping. Why do we gatekeep at all? I just don't understand. Like, we need to have more ideas, more ideologies competing in the market. Like, what are we doing? Oh, so and let me get through the article. Hang on, let me get through the article.
Sure, go ahead.
So I'm reading the article. I think the second paragraph. Bernie Sanders should not run for president. In fact, we beg him not to. Goes on to say the editorial board, which endorsed Hillary Clinton for Democratic presidential nominee in 2016, goes on to say that they have more reasons to be concerned than excited about another Sanders run for the White House. It writes about its fears that a Sanders run for president could divide the well-fractured Democratic Party and could lead to another split in the 2020 presidential vote. Okay. First thing, if you're worried about that, you need to get on board with election reform. I'm so tired I'm so tired of talking about how, because we could split the vote and have another Trump presidency for 4 more, or have Trump presidency for 4 more years. Like, you need to just vote you just need to vote Democrat. Like, you should, you need to, come on. Like, it's a 2-party system. Get with it. It's like, you're not wrong. I am listening to how right you are about that. Okay. But you are wrong about the solution. The solution should always be policy. And how do we fix what is broken? And I get so tired of people gatekeeping based off the fact that, like, you're going to have to vote for the lesser of 2 evils because the other one's more evil. Like, no. Anyways.
Yeah.
Article continues on.
Sure.
There is too much at stake to take that gamble, the board continues. If we are going to maintain a 2-party system, and the rest of the paragraph goes on because I didn't care about the rest of it. I don't want to maintain a 2-party system. Once again, if we are going to maintain a 2-party system, nobody wants that. It's not even that nobody wants that. We should all demand the system that best reflects the way we actually feel. Like, we should be governing ourselves. It's our government. You know what I'm saying? So I get so tired of, if a 2-party system was the best way to do it, then I'll raise my hand and say, let's do it, but it's not. So the article goes on. Last thing I wrote on here is, the editorial board adds that Sanders has developed a loyal following because of certain progressive policies he's championed. Yes, because it's all about policy. But it says that Sanders has become exhausting as a candidate and that his personality is abrasive.
I did see that.
He's got no charisma.
See the abrasive.
Nobody would ever say Bernie Sanders has charisma. Stop playing. Like, he doesn't. He's got policy, and he brings.
I wouldn't say that he
doesn't.
I wouldn't say that he doesn't have charisma, but I would say that he's not a particularly.
Okay, he's not Trump.
I wouldn't say he's not Trump. I would say he's not Obama in terms of charisma. I would say he's better than Trump, 100%. But he definitely, like, if you're gonna say better than Trump, that's not really a great bar to set, is it?
What? Like, Trump's charisma is like all he has. He has incredible power over a certain sector of people.
With 25% of the population,
probably 25 to 30.
Like, I don't accept that as well spread charisma. Whereas, like, I think if you took an honest to God conservative or liberal and was like sat them in front of an Obama speech, you would say, okay, I don't agree with the politics, but the man sure is charismatic, right? Like, you can recognize these things regardless of policy. Yeah. Trump's charisma only resounds from just like he has a weird amount of loyalty. And I would say that Bernie is kind of similar in the sense that, like, he's not very charismatic, but the fact that he's so on message and he's so, what's the word? Oh my God, I genuinely am blanking here. He's just consistent. Look, he's consistent with his message. That's the word, right? So that's what resounds, but it's not necessarily his charisma.
We should be implementing, starting at the highest office down, because the highest office is the most exposed, divisive, the figurehead, quote unquote, of the country. You need to do ranked choice voting. Just do it.
Right. You're right. You are right.
You know, not only will that eliminate the spoiler thing, but I truly believe that you're going to pull people off the sidelines voting who otherwise wouldn't have, because maybe they're weird, like super green party, we're going to tax everybody 95% and fix everything candidate runs. But then they rank whatever they rank the rest of the way. It's just, dude, I'm so tired of gatekeeping. Especially when it comes to, government of all of us. Like, this is our government. Like, nobody should be we shouldn't be gatekeeping. This just incenses me. I don't, however you feel about how old Bernie is or his ideas, like, everybody should just get a fair shot to run. Just run. It's now there's definitely solid. I've heard solid arguments like you can't have like 30 people on a ballot, and you can't. But we can do better than 2. Okay, there's a compromise, and so just because we having 30 people on a ballot isn't a good idea. It doesn't mean that having 5 people would be better. Wouldn't be better. It would be. It would be. So.
Not with the current system, and I think that's obviously what these guys are arguing. Like, they are saying, I don't care if you want to make any sort of revolution inside the Progressive Party. Right now, we need to focus on getting rid of Trump. That's what they're saying.
I get it.
Right? Like,
I get it.
Right. So that's what it is.
Well, we'll see what happens, because Democratic candidates are coming out of the woodwork. Trump is a very divisive figure, even with his own party. So we could, don't write off some sort of like Kasich pulls aboard some weird centrist Democrat, and it's like Kasich in that centrist Democrat ticket or something, and there's all kinds of people running. And dude, 2020 is going to be nuts. 2020 could potentially have a independent left and independent right ticket, separate from the Republican and Democratic tickets. Yeah. It's going to be nuts. It's going to be a mudsling shit show. It's going to be crazy, dude. Well,
I'm very interested.
I'm really hoping that it'll highlight the need for, or highlight the benefit of a ranked choice voting system. So we'll see.
I hope so. But again, like, I cannot really disagree with the main premise of what they're saying here is because within the current system we have, maybe Sanders shouldn't split the vote a bit more.
I agree with that, but I made clear my issue was your reaction to it should be talk about election reform.
Right.
Talk about election reform. Like, come on, this feels hateful.
That's fair.
There's a way to talk about this, and not like a weird gatekeeping way. Come on.
You're right. I would agree.
So do better. You journalists. Do better.
Now, can we talk personal opinion? Would you like to see Sanders run in 2020?
Yes. Yeah, I would.
No problem. Age is not a factor.
No. Why would age be a factor? Go ahead. Yeah, you said this earlier. Why would age be a factor?
I'm sorry. When you're 70 plus years old. Okay, so if I'm voting for a candidate, the idea is like, I want to give this person 8 years to fulfill what they want to do in their legacy as a president. If you're over the age of 70, let's be honest, it's not ideal if you're like a 78-year-old president.
No.
It's just not ideal, right? Like, I like Bernie's energy. I like the things that he focuses on. I think they're the most important things facing this country, right?
Yeah.
But let's say he's elected for 8 years, man. Like, Jesus. He's older. He is older.
Let's do a super shift here.
I like the message. I don't like the.
Let's do a shift here, and let's save your article for when we actually can have Chris. Let's do that. And
really? That's fair.
And let's do a pre. I'm just gonna throw names out, and we're just gonna talk about how we feel about them. Democratic, running for president.
Okay.
Joe Biden.
Okay. What are you saying? Just like,
what's your first reaction? Joe Biden runs for president 2020.
Yeah.
How does Chad feel about Joe Biden?
Joe Biden's a safe choice.
How does Chad feel about Joe Biden?
I feel like he's a safe choice. How do I feel about him personally?
So fine, I'll go first. He's a retread.
He's a retread of Barack Obama.
He's a retread, and especially after the superstars of this last cycle being pretty young, being pretty outspoken, like, we don't need retreads. We just talked about age. I don't know. Joe Biden's actually, I think he's in his 70s, so just retread. I don't like it.
Is he? How old is Joe Biden?
Oh, I think he's at least 70, something like that.
Well, but Sanders
Kamala
is at
Harris.
least 70. Joe Biden's 76. Wait a minute.
Oh,
Wait a minute.
There you go. There you go. He's old. Kamala Harris.
76. Bernie is 1 year older. I cannot dismiss Joe Biden on virtue of age if I am just... I can't do that. Damn. I don't know. So Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris, Chad. Yeah. My take on Kamala Harris is I don't know. Yo, she just got to the Senate like 2 years ago. She's running for president now. I'm like, I don't know. She'll be able to prove it. She'll be able to, as every candidate can with me. You'll be able to prove it in your campaign. It doesn't matter if you're left, right, upside down. It doesn't matter. Like, I'll listen. And if I didn't know who Richard Ojeda was not too long ago, and he fires me up, makes my loins burn. Okay. Anyways,
Kamala Harris. I gotta be honest. I don't know enough about Kamala Harris.
Your answer. That's my answer.
Yeah, I don't know
Elizabeth
enough.
Warren.
Don't like her.
Why? Go ahead.
I don't think she comes off well enough to be a leader. Why? I think if I had to choose, I would take Tulsi Gabbard over Elizabeth Warren.
Listen, very ambiguous answer though. Can you put your finger on something? You can't just tell me that you just feel
just
like
the way she presents
what
herself.
About the way she leads? What about
the way she leads?
Is she not forceful enough? Is she not because she's got a good record of supporting. You know what? The first thing that comes to my mind is good record of supporting working people. It sure is. Go look at it if you don't think so. You can talk about her leadership all you want. Go ahead.
I would say that ideally the next president, if they were to be Democratic, I hope would appeal to large bases of the left and the right. And I think Tulsi Gabbard does a better job of that than Elizabeth Warren does. I would take Tulsi. I think as of right now, right, based on what I know, if I were to vote in the Democratic primary, it would be Tulsi Gabbard. She's front runner so far.
Why does it got to be left versus right? Why can't it be like, hey, just better policy that would make for a better society? It needs to be left and right. It needs to be policy that supports the middle class, the working class. That's what it needs to be. I don't give a fuck what upside down, around the corner.
You're wrong.
Why am I wrong? Go ahead.
Because Trump has been such a push in a very specific direction that I think the next president needs to split that divide. I think the reactionary... Okay. Yeah. The reactionary shouldn't be an equivalent of Trump just on the left side.
No,
it should be somebody.
I didn't say that. Did I say that?
No. I'm not saying you said that, but I'm saying that might be what the reaction, or at least what the left might be inclined to do. I would hope, though, that the next president, if they were Democratic, is somebody that would split the middle, show why Trump was bad, and show why center line politics is better.
What policy does that person have? Well, who is
that
populist?
They're populist. Period.
No, they're not. You can't.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Oh, okay. No, you're right. Okay, let me stop myself. You can be populist and apply to both sides.
You absolutely can.
But then you're just talking about Trump. Listen.
No, you're not talking about Trump.
Yes.
You're talking about a Trump that delivers and doesn't overpromise. So not Trump.
Say this. You're talking about a Trump who's actually honest. Someone who's honest.
And who delivers.
We need honesty. No, Trump delivers on serving rich people.
You know what? I think Trump is honest. People. I think Trump is honest. I just think he's dumb.
Stop it.
I think he doesn't.
Lies about he fearmongers about the southern border constantly.
No. You know what the problem is? He's honest in his own eyes. I don't care about honesty.
But I don't give a fuck about how Trump feels if he's honest or not. That's not how that works.
That is how honesty works.
It's factual or it's facts or fiction.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Honesty
Wait a
is
minute.
objectively
So
true
if
to
I
the
cross
individual.
the street, we can just act like I didn't because we can just believe I didn't, but I still crossed the street? I don't understand this.
Honesty is only true as far as the individual. And if that individual is in power, then their honesty is what matters.
Okay, stop. We're talking about different things. Don't troll me right now. You know that there is fact and fiction. If you cross the street, what is fact? You cross the street. Stop. There is no... So
right, sure. If that's how you want to frame it, then fine.
Of course. Why would we frame it any way else?
Because the context matters.
Of course it does. It always
does.
Trump is
honest. Of course he's honest. I don't think he's dishonest.
About what?
I think he believes the things that he says. Honesty doesn't matter.
That's not honesty.
Honesty
is telling the factual truth. No, it's not.
No, honesty is not telling a factual truth. Honesty is telling...
This is the problem. Look, and this is the problem with the times that we live in. this is the problem with the times that we live in. We need politicians who actually serve facts and who actually look.
Facts and honesty are different.
We have a huge government.
Facts and honesty are different
at the border. Did you know that last year there were 44 individuals caught at a border with the United States that were registered on terrorism watch lists? Do you know which border that was? That was Canada. Do you know how many were caught at the Mexican border? 6. Fucking 6.
Okay.
The man fear mongers. There's actual data on this. The government collects. I don't give a fuck how you feel about it. The government serves people. They don't just put out lies. Okay, Chad.
And I'll say this. I've said it before. I've said it before.
Fear mongering. Go ahead. What is it?
You say fear mongering in an intentional type of way. You're saying he is
lying.
He is intentionally misconstruing the facts to paint things in a different manner.
Willfully lying to gain political capital because he loves himself.
This is where we differ, and I'll die on this hill until I see otherwise. But I think Trump honestly believes every word that comes out of his mouth. I think he believes it.
No,
I don't think he's intentionally misleading.
That is a stunning level of ignorance. Can we agree on that? That is a stunning level of ignorance.
I'm going to insult you. Can we agree on that?
No.
What do you mean?
No. On Trump's part. I'm not insulting you, brother. I would never. I'm talking about on Trump's part.
Sure.
That is to not know that anything that's come out of his mouth that's lying. By the way, however you feel about the Washington Post, they've been keeping track of his lies. It's up to like over 4,000. Stunning level.
I agree. I agree that he's aware somewhat of the lies that comes out of his mouth. I'm not defending Trump. I'm defending the word honesty, right? Like, I don't disagree that there's stuff that comes out of his mouth that he knows it isn't true. But I also think that there is a bigger amount of stuff that comes out of his mouth that he genuinely believes is true.
You are defending his character when you say this, though.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are, because you're saying
defending his intelligence.
Yes, you are, because you're
not defending his intelligence.
Otherwise, if he knew otherwise or knew or learned otherwise, then he would change it.
I think it's a bigger hit on his character that he genuinely isn't able to recognize between fact and fiction.
And that's fine. And there's another aspect to that. That is that. But you are, in my eyes, to a degree, defending his character because you're saying if he knew otherwise, if he had the truth otherwise, which we have Google, we've talked about this pod, but if he had the truth otherwise, then he wouldn't have the opinions he has. That's what it feels like to me. You're saying if he had the right...
I'm saying that he does lie. I know that he lies. We know, everyone knows that he lies.
Difficult to defend.
But I think there's a lot that comes out of his mouth that a lot of people would construe as a lie, as an objective lie, that he genuinely believes to be true. He doesn't know how to parse fact from fiction. That's what I'm saying. I think that's a bigger hit on his character than just maliciously lying.
So what
He's dumb.
His ideals then, you think? Like what makes what drives his decision making then? What makes him, I think, end up on one side or the other? He loves Trump. That's my answer. It all comes back to the man loves himself.
Yes,
partially. Look at what's happened around him really quickly. Look at what has happened around him his whole life. You either don't like him and he just doesn't give a shit and or fires you or whatever, or just like you're out, or you love him and you're loyal and you're in. This is literally his whole life. Go ahead.
Right, but he's the type of person to surround himself with people who are loyal and doesn't genuinely realize that they're lying to him a lot. I think that,
but Trump, that's because these people only use him for their own gain too, knowing that he's gonna burn them. Like Omarosa knew that the whole ride was just there was a time expiration. I promise you, she knew, and because
she knew. Yeah, I don't think he knew.
I don't think he knew either. I agree.
Right.
But these people know that Trump demands loyalty but doesn't give it himself. And they play off of that as well because they can play off of the exposure. Omarosa is a well-known figure now. She can make money off that.
Well, we are saying her name. Yeah.
Exactly. That's my point. Right. That's exactly my point. So
no, I'm and again, I think this is a bigger hit. I think it's a bigger hit on Trump's character that he does say things, he does parrot things that right. Like, I know that he lies.
I just called him a stunning ignoramus. Right. So yes, it definitely is a tarnish.
I'm not saying that he doesn't lie and know he's lying. I'm saying there's a lot of times where he is saying what he thinks is what's real. Like concerning the southern border, I don't think he's making things up and he's just trying to feed it his base that there's just like a huge crisis at the border. I think he genuinely believes that there's a massive crisis at the border. I don't think that he doesn't really believe that California had millions of illegal immigrants vote illegally. I think he genuinely believes that happened. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of things that he lies about, but there's a lot more that he says that he thinks is true and just objectively isn't.
But then we circle back to that is a stunning level of ignorance for the leader.
I agree, and I'm not surprised by it. I agree, and I'm not surprised by it. It's not sad. It's not sad. He represents a good portion of this country, unfortunately. Yeah. And Beto
O'Rourke. Beto O'Rourke. Actually, he's not running yet, but
well, he will.
How do you feel about Beto?
Oh, you still want to go through the list? I don't like Beto.
No, I only wanted. Oh, okay, and here we go. I only wanted to say his one more name, or I just want to say one more name, his specifically, because of what you said about reaching out to both sides. Go back and look at his campaign videos. He nails right on the head of what you wanted, what you described, yo. He's not very. I'm not going to say he's not progressive, but he definitely is someone who tries to unify people, who tries to just say, "Hey, let's just go with good ideas." Go. Yeah, I would just say go back and look at it. He is not. Were you about to tell me he's some liberal progressive? Because he is not, yo.
No, I think he. Sure. I think he plays the game too much, and I don't like that in a politician.
Okay.
That's why I'm so inclined to like Bernie. Because Bernie doesn't play the game. He tells you exactly what he fucking thinks. He doesn't, and like that's not going to win you elections. But I respect that. Huh?
Win you elections.
It won't win you elections, but I respect that
immensely. Bernie has his whole career proves to you it wins elections. Maybe not the top one yet.
Really? Because he didn't win the 2016 presidential nomination.
That is a stunning level of ignoring the rest of his career. You know, he was a mayor in the 80s, moved up to being a representative for years, moved up to being in the Senate. He has worked his ass off for the people for many years. Just because he lost one election, Chad.
Doesn't sell in a presidential election.
It's kind of disrespectful to me. That one election, really? He has, look, just
that's
because
one that matters, unfortunately. You want to be president?
What does that even mean?
That's what we're discussing. No, that's what we're discussing is the presidency. If someone looked me in the eyes today, are we not discussing the presidency?
If someone, this is the kind of integrity I think Bernie has. If someone looked me in the eyes today and looked him in the eyes back early in the day and said, all you'll be is a state legislator, but you'll be in that position your whole life and you'll be able to, affect but that's fine. What's the problem with having pride for serving 100,000 people?
Nothing at all.
So, you're just.
It just doesn't win on a national level.
Don't make it a zero.
It doesn't win on a national level.
Oh, stop.
Well, it didn't, did it? It didn't. We all saw what Bernie was saying. We all saw what Hillary was saying. And we saw who won. It didn't win. That's why I choose differently. And, again, if you want to say, fuck this editorial from this Vermont newspaper, but I think they're being blatantly honest. They're saying, listen, let's say that they even like Bernie. Let's say they even. You're talking about practical solutions. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Election reform, get it done.
Yes. Done. Let's pursue Bernie. He does split the vote, and Trump wins in 2020. Electoral reform is coming real soon, isn't it? It's not.
Get it done.
No, work with the system.
And I'm not.
Talk about levels of ignorance if you're not willing to work with the system.
Absolutely working the system, but you can write whatever the hell you want. You own a newspaper. I don't have any. You didn't even mention it. You didn't even mention it. Stop it. You're not going to talk about how they didn't even mention it 1 second. No, you don't. You're just talking about how you can't get it done. Fuck that. How about you give a little support to the other side too? Talk about both. You did.
I agreed with you when you said that. I agree with you when you said that. But I'm saying they're just being practical at best, and I can't shame that. I can't shame practicality. Sorry.
It's policy. It's what always comes back to.
It's policy when you win elections.
You want to complain about something? You need to tell me how you're going to solve it.
It's policy. It's policy when you win elections.
No.
It's not policy when you win elections.
Hillary didn't even win. Garbage.
But she did win, didn't she? She did win.
Wait. But Chad, you just told me it doesn't matter unless you win. And she didn't.
Policy. Well, she won the popular vote.
Does that matter? Does that actually win anything?
It does matter because Bernie didn't win the nomination. It does matter. Listen, if you want to vote,
nothing. What you just told me? You just told me that you have to take the power, and then you're going to say Hillary won. Now she didn't. She lost the one thing that actually takes to power, which means anything else you won means nothing. Right?
Right.
Okay. That's all.
And she got more votes than Bernie would have, clearly.
That's not even a part of the conversation. Who cares? Bernie wasn't even in the race.
If we're talking about having to play within the system, it absolutely is a part of the conversation. You have to play the system.
No. She did, and then she won, and then she got to the... Wait, I don't even understand what you're talking about. She did play in the system. She won. She got to the election, and she fucking lost. Just like Bernie fucking lost the Democratic nomination. What are we talking about right now?
We're talking about playing the system.
And she did, and
if you're saying, oh, woe is me, why is this Vermont newspaper not giving Bernie the credit that he deserves? I agree, but
I want you to
what this newspaper ultimately is talking about is we need to win, especially because Trump is in office.
Who's we?
And if you want to make real change...
Who's we? The left? I don't like that. That's divisive. That's divisive.
If you are opposed to Trump, that is we.
Okay, then who's we? Who the hell's we? Is it the left? Is it the resistance?
Well, that's my point exactly, isn't it? Is you have to be a leader that gathers that support.
Then everybody go out and compete for it. Don't gatekeep. Let Bernie go out and compete for it too. What's the deal?
But if you exist in the system that we do, you have to gatekeep. You need consolidated power to make changes. You need it.
Okay, let's end it on this. Would you tell Bernie Sanders you don't think it's a good idea for him to run? Because I don't think you should tell anybody that.
No, I always tell him to run. That's why I said, you're right. This editorial should have given credence to the fact that, hey, multi-party systems need to be a thing, right? Or sorry, multi-choice.
Yeah, ranked choice voting. But we could even not even talk about that. They didn't even have to write about ranked choice voting. Okay? Right. All they would have to do is not write this article at all. Because you're gatekeeping. If you want to write this article because you have an opinion, hang on. This is what I think.
Not when you have to work with the system.
Hang on. This is what I think this should be. If you want to write the article about the one side, then talk about other options that'll fix it. Okay, that's my point.
That's kind of just ridiculous.
No, it's not.
So every time you write an article, so let's say, let me write an article. You just told me
you disagree with them.
So if I tell you,
arguing about.
Let me
agree with them too. You don't like the gatekeeping either. You'd rather have Bernie run.
Of course, but you're saying every time you write an article, you have to show every sort of optic. Like if I write a pro-vaccine article, do I have to show the optics of an anti-vaxxer? It's like that's not really what's going on here, right? Is it?
That's too far. I agree. I will give you that. But what I am saying is I don't like the gatekeeping. That was the whole point.
That's fine, but they're just being practical. And when
I ask you the actual question that matters is because I don't even know what we're arguing about at some points. When I ask you the actual question that matters is, would you rather have Bernie run no matter how you feel about his age or whatever? You would, and that's all I want to hear.
Okay, can I ask you this then? Can I ask you this in retaliation?
Go ahead.
Would you rather have Hillary won than Trump?
Why does that relate? I will answer.
It absolutely does. That's fine. Because tell me how. Because when you work within the system, you're able to consolidate power. And if the system is broken, you have to work within it to consolidate power to change the way that things are. Would you rather Hillary won?
I'm glad that Trump won.
I'm
glad that we had so many candidates to the point that all these people threw their...
Would you rather have Hillary won?
Why does that matter compared to what we were just talking about?
I'm bothered that you don't answer the question.
No, because I don't even know what I'm answering. I want more options. That's all I want.
Because you have to work within the system. It's like, would you rather have...
That's fine.
Okay, let me ask you this. Let's say 2020 rolls around.
Republican candidates there were in 2016? That was good. That was good.
Let's say 2020 rolls around. Let's say it's Trump and Hillary again.
Why would it be?
Let's just say it is.
How about this? I would be glad
answer the question.
Her hat in the ring. No, because it doesn't matter to what I'm talking about.
It does matter.
No, it doesn't. I keep trying to tell you.
I would be glad.
There's a lot of people, and this is a good point. There's a lot of people who'd be upset that Hillary would try to run again. Go ahead. Anybody's more than welcome to run. Play in the system, just like you said. I'm asking you. And I like more options.
I'm asking you.
I'm telling you I voted third party in 16, so fuck them both. I don't even understand why this matters to the conversation. I keep saying this because
it 100% does. Because if you want to make... Because what this newspaper is arguing...
more choice, the better. That's what I'm talking about.
But what this newspaper is arguing is that if we have a system that exists... You have to work within that system, or you have Trump again.
That's fine.
That's fine.
You're predicated on the fact that like somehow Trump is like so bad that he's destroying the whole system. That's why we're begging Bernie not to run. He's not. If Trump wins again, it is what it is. We're gonna have another 4 years of way too right-wing weirdo leadership, and we're going to be fine. We're always fine. We're the United States of America. If you think that Donald Trump could tear this nation apart, you're an idiot. There's a whole history of that doesn't happen to us. Andrew Jackson was a complete buffoon in some ways, and we're still standing here. Come on, don't be. We have a whole history of standing proud and being fine. Okay, what we want is more ideas being thrown into the ring. And if we don't reform the election, that's what I want. And if we don't reform the election system that we have, and it spits out Trump again, it is what it is. So this is what we've built.
Let's reform the election system. Let's all vote third party. Okay. Oh, that doesn't work, does it?
What does that even mean?
You cannot. The system exists as it exists.
Right.
You cannot change anything until you work within that system to consolidate power to make changes.
And Maine did, and they changed it to a ranked choice voting system, and the Democrat just unseated.
You're talking state by state. You're not talking federal.
Okay, so then what are we talking about?
We're talking.
What's your point?
The point is you have to work within the system to change anything. That's why they're saying, Bernie, please don't run. You're going to split the party. No, if you split the party, then Trump wins. Then we don't consolidate party, and you don't change anything. You don't make any real change.
This is where we were on the same page. This is where we weren't on the same page. I don't want Bernie to run as a third party in this system. I agree. I don't. If he runs as a Democrat and competes with a bunch of Democrats, that's what I want to see right now. You are right. The election system we have is set up to fail us, to potentially give us maybe the worst choice just because he or she has the most fervent base. I get it. I concede that. Of course I do. And this whole argument has been Bernie run as a Democrat, not as third party. And until we fix our election system, no, I agree. I think that the lessons of 2016 make me, even if, let's say it was HRC versus DJT again, I wouldn't vote third party this time. I'd vote Hillary because of what I've seen and how fearful I am in some areas, okay? But we're going to be fine. And more ideas, more people, the better inside of the system that we have. Yes, I agree. And that means every Democrat, if you want to run, then go for it. Go run. Start winning these elections state by state and see if you can't consolidate enough to go make a run for it. This is what we want to see. And I want to see it done inside the Democratic Party from Bernie. If this article is not predicated on the third party run, though, this article is begging him not to run even inside of a Democratic run, which is garbage and what we should be sharing. That is because we're gatekeeping. Once again, Chad, that is taking away choice. That is taking away more choice. Go ahead.
Do you think Bernie split the vote enough in 2016 for Hillary to lose?
No. And if you think that, then we need to have election reform once again.
I agree, but what they're saying is work with the system and make real changes. Unless you want to burn the whole thing to the ground.
You're going to feel...
You can burn the whole thing to the ground if you want.
Let me give you a scenario. Democratic Party says we can't have 16 happen again. This is what we're going to do to fix it. We won't even have primaries. The party internally is going to select a candidate that we think is the most... Okay, you see what I'm saying, though?
Yes.
You really see where I'm going. Okay, go ahead.
But that's kind of apples to oranges, I think.
Look, it's not... I don't think it's apples to oranges.
I don't think it's comparable.
It is. It is an exaggeration.
Of course it's an exaggeration. It's a hypothetical, but it's not comparable to what's going on. I don't think it's a valid point to make.
A little bit. It is.
I don't know if it is. It is. So let me tell you this. Let me tell you this.
Go ahead. Tell me how the Democrats...
When you talk about...
Go ahead.
When you talk about young progressives, let's talk about young progressives in 2013. Let's talk about young progressives in 2016 and the year after. You will see, I think, that Bernie actually significantly shifted the party to a very specific direction, thereby maybe genuinely splitting the vote. So would you... the question then remains is...
Splitting what vote?
The Democrats. The Democrats.
How many people... So when was
how many people...
Well, hang on. When was the Democrat vote split?
Well, it wasn't. Everyone was... Right. Everyone was... So then everyone, for the most part, was together under Obama.
Oh, no. I'm talking about 16. So you're saying... So let's say... You know what the word split means, right? In half.
Yes.
So you're saying that during the presidential election...
Relax.
Okay.
Split.
So
means
how many votes
would you rather me
say
fracture? Would you rather me say fracture?
Okay, and then explain to me how that fracture would have led to Hillary losing.
How does that fracture in votes, people who are being following Bernie's politics and then felt that they were disrespected by the DNC and not voting for them as a whole, maybe independent, maybe even Trump, which there's a lot of evidence that, Bernie Sanders supporters, at least a good portion, were burned and voted for Trump just because Trump was also a populist in very similar ways.
I need to see the numbers on that. Just to be fair. Just saying.
Yeah, I can get those to you. Fine.
I have seen them. I know what the number is, but it's not as high as you think.
Oh, so in a very close election, that's
6%. 6%.
6%. That's not a tipping point.
How many people were voting for other Republican candidates and voted for Hillary? Did you take that in consideration? Because those people are real too. Can that cancel out? Maybe? Can that cancel out? Maybe, dude. No. Those people are mad real.
That's One Direction. Sorry. 2016 was a populist year, and the DNC chose establishment.
So you're gonna act like you know exactly what happened. Is that what we're doing?
I'm gonna tell you that 2016 was anti-establishment year.
So we're gonna talk about we're not gonna talk about Republicans that voted old Mitt Romney Republicans that voted for Hillary. We're not gonna talk about that at all, and that shift at all. That doesn't matter at all.
Are you saying that's the equivalent? Are you saying then that
I'm not.
The equivalent
I'm just saying
of Bernie to Trump?
That was a real.
Then it was Romney to Clinton.
No, I'm not. That was a real thing though, and it was
but numbers matter
because there was a suburban wave by Democrats.
Well, numbers matter.
Okay, exactly. That of course they do, and
I would bet my left nut that shift happened from Sanders to Trump than it did from Romney to Clinton. I would say it's more that direction. And again, I'm not here to argue. I'm absolutely all for more voices, more discussion. All I'm saying is what this article is saying is within the current system, Bernie adds discord to where there might otherwise be a bit more unity in the Democratic Party.
Nope.
And they're hedging their bets on the idea that a Sanders type figure, and to be honest, they should also be throwing Tulsi Gabbard in the mix then too, because she's of the same flavor as Bernie Sanders. And they're saying that let's not rile up the Democratic base too much. Let's show some unity. Let's get behind somebody that is going to just oust Trump. Because if you want to make any real change, you need to actually consolidate power. That's what they're saying. So I can't argue with that. I'm saying let's get multi-choice voting. Let's get multi-tier voting. I'm 100% for that. What these people are saying is within the current system, the way the American system is set up, you need to consolidate power. It's why I think Joe Biden is a very safe choice and ultimately is going to be the nomination because he's a safe choice.
Okay.
He's middle of the road.
In a Joe Biden world where you actually consolidate power, the catch-22 is what?
Well, if you want to change anything, that's how you have to do it.
Shit ain't gonna get done. Shit ain't gonna get done.
Maybe.
Maybe. And no, it's not. And
maybe. How do you change things otherwise if you can't get somebody elected? How do you change things otherwise if you can't get somebody elected?
We all wonder.
I'm asking you.
That's the catch-22 of our time. Why do you think we have such low faith in government? Why do you think people have such low faith in government?
Listen, I understand.
That is the catch-22. Literally, if you could answer that, you could make a lot of money. You could gain a lot of power. So you tell me. But I don't
have the answers. I'm just saying I understand where this article's coming from. I just get it. I get it. That's all I'm saying.
But
I'm not saying I like the situation we're in. I think it's trash. I think there are better ways.
I think I'd be right where you are if this article was talking about Bernie. We beg Bernie not to run third party. I'm right in the same boat. But when we talk about
internal discord exists.
No, that's
ignoring that is just
I need
ignorance.
to see the actual numbers. If we're gonna actually
you're saying after Bernie's run in 2016 that there wasn't a significant chunk of the left that moved. You're saying that's not a thing.
How do you know it was significant? What does that mean? What's the number?
We know that.
I've seen 6%.
I'm sorry, when you watched Hillary completely change her tone when Bernie started gaining so much traction is because she realized there were different voices within the Democratic Party. People asking for different things.
I promise you, Chad, if people didn't want to vote for Hillary and they were on the left, I would promise you the same way that you're claiming something that they would rather sit out or vote third party. I don't it's the same. It'd be the same thing. A lot of people, and I agree with you. A lot of people, it's the same thing. A lot of people made too much of like, oh, there's reasonable Republicans who might vote Hillary. There were some. Those people always exist.
I don't think that
it wasn't. You don't think any of them existed? Come on, stop it. It's a country of 330 million.
I didn't even finish that sentence. Relax.
You keep marginalizing it, but you keep marginalizing it for some reason.
I'm saying
that was a big portion.
I think that's more in the direction of former Sanders towards Trump than it was former Romney towards Clinton.
But you're a slave to the media. You're like, it was a populist year. It was a populist year because you saw Bernie do really well and Trump do really well. But meanwhile, you just
because the United Kingdom left the European Union. It was a populist year because of many types of things. It was a way.
American. Hillary still beat Bernie, just like you brought up. What are you talking about populist year? That was just the sensationalism of that year. Look, we get so stuck in the small parts of society that captivate, and then we act like that's a big, huge. Utah's full of people that hate Trump, but they're Republican. It's crazy. Okay, these people exist. They just voted Mitt Romney as a senator. You know that, right?
Do you think that the Democratic Party is fractured right now among their base?
I think that the Democratic Republican Party are always fractured. Their parties are always fractured.
Okay.
When you get a political party,
yes or no?
Just parties are, yes or no? Yes.
Do you think
a political party as big as these parties are? There's always fractures. Go ahead.
Do you think that became more fractured after Bernie's run?
In what way?
What do you mean? Fractured, difference of opinion among people who lean left.
A difference, and this is why I asked that, because a difference of opinion doesn't mean bad things. That sounds to me like more.
I'm not saying bad things. I'm just saying
more ideas being thrown around.
Fractured.
No,
that's the only point. No.
So, Chad, did you know that the Democratic Party has had a long history?
Thank you.
130, 140 years. Did you know that
I would like more of this history lesson?
Did you know that, and I might shock you, that the Democratic Party and also the Republican Party and pretty much every party, there's inside of that party, when they're large, there's going to be a whole just kaleidoscope of different ideologies.
These are all new facts to me.
Okay, well, it sounds like they are, because you're acting like all of a sudden these fractures exist. Like there wasn't huge leftist Bernie progressives back in the day. Of course there were. There's always
right, because levels of...
There's just Bernie's been around since the 80s. I told you this. He just got more exposure in 2016. So all of a sudden he's in Chad's conscious. So I get it. He's the fresh flavor.
All right, he's in the national conscious when he runs for president, and he doesn't run for president before that.
I would agree with you that the media might shine a spotlight more on the fractures sometimes because they captivate the public's attention. But those fractures are always there. But those fractures are always there.
The public is what determines democracy. So,
but the fractures are always there.
Yes, but they change. What do you mean? Like, I don't know why you're arguing this point.
I just want to be more inclusive.
All this article. That's it. Yes, and I agree. I'm with you.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I said I don't know.
The only thing this article is arguing is that if
and I told you I'd be on the same page with the third party run, but not inside Democratic Party. He should run if he wants. Go for it. Nobody cares. Do what you want. Win the votes. You don't, go home. That's it.
Sure. They're just arguing that he adds fracture to where.
That's where I disagree.
Right now,
if he runs in the Democratic nomination process, doesn't win, and just goes home, I don't think that
it doesn't change opinions of Democrats at all. The fact that Bernie ran doesn't change the opinion of Democrats. That existed.
The fact that
Bernie
Donald Trump ran doesn't change the opinion of Republicans.
Yes, it does. Are you serious?
Videos.
I could show you that it absolutely does.
Of course, that's what I'm saying. But you were refuting that before. The Mitt Romney Republican who voted HRC. Okay, stop.
I'm saying the way that Bernie changed ideas in the left is the same way that Trump changed. Is the same way that changed.
But that's
Trump
my point.
Ideas
so that means
right.
that Mitt Romney Republicans definitely voted for HRC when you were like, "Oh, that wasn't that big a deal." Like, come on, yo, why are you just diminishing that so much? That's a thing, yo.
Not in the. I think it happened more in one direction than it did the other.
Why? Because the media was captivated with the populist movement.
The right absolutely abhors any Clinton name. Period.
Just like you pointed out, Bernie was populist, he lost, and just like you pointed out, Donald Trump on a populist voting election lost. Both of the populist candidates lost, and you're acting like that was somehow more momentum than the side that beat them, both of them with more votes. That's crazy to me.
We're just splitting hairs here at this point.
We are, but that's just telling you, yo.
All I'm saying is I agree. There should be more choice, but I understand where this article is coming from. That's all I'm saying. I get it.
And there's a
I
lot
get it. You got to consolidate power. You got to do it. If you want to change anything, you have to.
There's a lot we agree on, and welcome to the Three Bros Pod. We're running circles, but it's fun.
Sure. For about 20 minutes at a time.